This is bad.
I think first and foremost, it's absolutely unacceptable. I think as a league, as a whole,
can you pause it here? She starts out by saying, first and foremost, I want to address what's going on with AT. Now, let me explain something to you. There isn't a serious coach in any serious league.
There's a moment in professional sports where everything stops. The whistle blows. The crowd goes silent. And a coach has to decide who they're going to defend. On a Tuesday night in the WNBA, that moment came down to a split-second choice that would reveal everything about what a franchise actually values. Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly brought mainstream attention to women's basketball, took a forearm directly to the throat during a game. It wasn't a basketball move. Everyone watching knew it. The refs knew it. The league knew it. But what happened next would spark a conversation that's still echoing through the sports world about what it really means to protect your players and lead with integrity.
Defend a player on another team intentionally, and you can say whatever you want, but it was intentional, trying to injure one of their own player, much less the star player. Now, before I get into the whole Caitlin Clark part of it, you got to understand where this woman, Stephanie White, is. She's a lesbian. She's, quote, married. I don't know if she's married.
The play itself was straightforward. Alyssa Thomas, a veteran player, extended her arm deliberately into Caitlin Clark's neck area. This wasn't incidental contact. This wasn't a natural basketball movement that happened to make contact. This was a motion that had one purpose, and that purpose wasn't winning the basketball game. The referees called it immediately a flagrant foul. The WNBA's disciplinary process kicked in. And then came the punishment that would spark outrage across sports media. 1 game suspension. 1 game. For a play that had the potential to cause serious injury. For a move that everyone agreed wasn't basketball. 1 game. To put that in perspective, think about how other professional sports handle violent conduct. In the NBA, flagrant fouls that look intentional typically result in fines that reach into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, plus multiple game suspensions. In the NHL, a similar crosscheck to the neck would mean games on the sidelines. But in the WNBA, the response was measured, controlled, minimal. And that's where the real story starts to emerge. Not about whether the play was dirty, but about what the league's response said about how they value their biggest asset and how they handle accountability when it matters most.
As the head coach of the Fever, obviously, everybody with half a brain would understand that you shouldn't go online, make racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynist comments. Fine. But that's not what this is about. And you can get to that later without going first and foremost. Yeah, everybody understands that. Hell, I get death threats damn near every day. I got somebody wanting to get their damn feet hot every damn day. So what? So what? All that is a woman, Alyssa Thomas, not taking any accountability. And the coach of the star, the person that is making this league, defending the estate.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
Here's where things get interesting. After the suspension was announced, Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, took to the podium. Every coach has moments like this. Moments where they can shape the narrative. Where they can set the tone for how the team and organization respond. Where they can send a message about what the team stands for. White had a choice. She could have focused on protecting her franchise player. She could have expressed frustration with the suspension she felt.
I couldn't imagine this woman walking back into the locker room if, again, and I always preface everything with if this is a real league. Go ahead.
It's not acceptable. Yes, we have to continue to protect our players. We've got to continue to support our players and our.
Bro, Dan Dockage, not even a month ago, 2 weeks ago, he was defending Stephanie White blow for blow. Blow for blow. To see this, him switch up his take like this, is mind.
Was inadequate. She could have made it clear that her job includes defending the people on her roster when they're attacked. Instead, she opened with something completely different. First and foremost, White said, I want to address what's going on with that. Alyssa Thomas, the player who threw the forearm, the player who committed the flagrant foul, the player who wasn't on her team, That was White's priority, not Clark's well-being, not defending her star, not demanding better accountability from the league. It was addressing concerns about the player who had just attacked one of her own. The message White sent was clear, even if she didn't intend it that way. When your coach's first instinct after you get hit is to defend the other player, you learn something important about where you stand in their priorities. White went on to talk about online toxicity, about inclusivity, about how fans shouldn't send hateful messages. Fine. Nobody's arguing that death threats or hateful comments are acceptable. They're not.
We get to play a basketball game. And AT was exactly right. Like, we get to play a basketball game. And yes, that's going to come with criticism. Yes, that's going to come with...
Hang on there. AT is exactly right. We get to play a basketball game. But what Stephanie White should say, but she's so stupid, is she should say that was not a basketball play. That was a play that could have seriously injured our star player. She should have had more than a one-game suspension, instead of making Alyssa Thomas out to be a freaking martyr. But again, lesbian woman, married to an African-American, she can't put her personal life aside and do what an actual coach would do, not just somebody standing up in front of us as the face of LGTB ABCD. Listen to the rest of this.
But here's the thing. You can address those issues without making them your opening statement when your player just took a forearm to the throat. You can acknowledge that toxicity exists in online spaces without using it as a shield to avoid holding the player who committed the flagrant foul accountable. What White did was conflate two separate issues. One issue was a dangerous play on the court that deserved a serious punishment. The other issue was fan behavior online. By leading with the second issue, she made it seem like the real problem wasn't the play itself, but how people were reacting to the play. That's a fundamental misreading of what happened and what her job required in that moment.
Love-hate relationship that they have with players and teams, that is going to come. But it's not hard to not be a jerk. And if you are one of these people that are online doing this, do not call yourself a WNBA fan. Our league is about inclusiveness. Our league is about competition. Our league is about elevating women, elevating marginalized communities, including and being inclusive of.
Hang on. So that's what I'm saying. Our league, competition is kind of in the middle of it. That's what your league is about. Your league is about elevating marginalized communities. So you've said exactly what I have said. This league is run for and by lesbians, angry African-American lesbians. If you want to go to a marginalized community, there's your number one right there. So that's what the league is.
This is where the broader coaching principle comes into focus. In professional sports, there's an unwritten understanding about what a coach owes their players. When your player gets attacked, your job is to have their back. Publicly, unequivocally. You don't lecture the fans. You don't pivot to social commentary. You stand up and say, that was a dangerous play. It had no place in our game. My player was wronged, and I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's what coaches do. That's what leaders do. They protect their people. Look at what happened in comparable situations across sports. In the NBA, when a player commits a flagrant foul against a star player, the opposing coach doesn't take to the podium to defend the player who committed the foul. They defend their own. They express outrage. They demand accountability. They make it clear that their locker room is off limits for that kind of behavior. When a coach doesn't do that, when a coach publicly sides with the player who committed the infraction, it sends a message throughout the team. It tells your players that you won't have their backs when it matters. It tells them that other things, other allegiances, other concerns, other priorities come before protecting them. White's approach suggests something different was at play. Instead of a straightforward coaching decision based on protecting her player, her response indicated that she had other priorities competing for her attention. Instead of saying, my player was wronged, and I expect better from this league, she said, let's all be more inclusive and kind online. Those aren't the same thing. They're not even in the same conversation. And that disconnect is what caught the attention of people who cover sports for a living. People who understand what good coaching looks like. People who realize that something was off about how this situation was being handled.
You stand 10 toes down. What is you saying, bruh? This is what you signed up for. And this is why people do not take this league serious. because they can't even take comments serious when it comes to the way this league is run, when it comes to the way people criticize them. They always want to play the victim. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Be sure to hype the video, like the video, subscribe to the tribe. Till next time, shake the haters off, and thanks again for the birthday.
Now, here's what makes this situation particularly significant. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player on the roster. She's the reason people are watching. She's the player who brought mainstream attention to the WNBA. She's the franchise player. She's the generational talent. She's the person the entire organization's future is built around. And she's 22 years old in her first professional season, navigating an environment where established players have made it clear they resent her success. Think about what that means for her situation. She's playing in a league where she's resented by some of the veterans. She's dealing with a level of scrutiny and pressure that most rookies never experience. She needs a coach who understands that environment. She needs a coach who's going to be her advocate. She needs a coach who's going to make it clear that her success is good for everyone, that her talent elevates the entire organization, that attacking her isn't just a foul, it's an attack on the franchise itself. Instead, what does she get? She gets a coach whose first public response is to defend the player who attacked her. She gets a coach who uses her injury as an opportunity to lecture about inclusivity. She gets a coach who frames her as part of a problem that needs to be managed rather than a star who needs to be protected. From Clark's perspective, sitting in that locker room, what does that tell her? It tells her that when things get tough, when someone takes a cheap shot, her coach won't have her back. It tells her that her coach's allegiances lie elsewhere. It tells her that she's on her own. That's devastating for a player-coach relationship. That's the kind of moment that can fracture trust in ways that are hard to repair. Because trust in professional sports is built on the assumption that your coach will defend you. Your coach will protect you. Your coach will make it clear that you matter. When that assumption gets challenged, when that trust gets violated, it changes everything about how a player performs and how they feel about being part of an organization. Here's what's remarkable about how this situation has played out. A veteran Indiana sports reporter named Dan Dakich started paying attention. Dakich isn't some casual observer. He's been covering basketball in the state for decades. He's an institution in Indiana sports. And just 2 weeks before the Caitlin Clark incident, he was defending Stephanie White. He was supporting her. He was the kind of mainstream voice that every coach wants in their corner. Then the Clark incident happened. Then White took to the podium. Then Dakich heard what she said. And suddenly, his entire perspective shifted. He went on record calling White's handling of the situation indefensible. He questioned whether she was fit to coach a franchise player. He used language like liability to describe her impact on Clark's career. That's a massive shift. That's not a casual change of opinion. That's a credibility check from someone who covers this sport professionally and understands what good coaching looks like. Why does that matter? Because Dakich represents exactly the kind of mainstream sports credibility that the WNBA needs. He's not a blogger throwing hot takes into the void. He's not someone with an agenda. He's a respected figure in sports media who was willing to give White the benefit of the doubt. And when he stopped giving her that benefit, when he went on record questioning her priorities, it was a signal that something had gone genuinely wrong. When you lose people like that, when you lose the support of established media figures who want to see women's basketball succeed, you've miscalculated in a serious way. But here's what's even more telling. This isn't an isolated incident. This is part of a pattern. Look at how the league has treated Caitlin Clark since she arrived. She's brought unprecedented mainstream attention to women's basketball. The ratings are up. The ticket sales are up. The merchandise is moving. She's been the single biggest factor in the WNBA's growth in years. And yet, the league's own social media accounts often downplay her achievements. The coverage from league-affiliated media doesn't consistently celebrate her the way they celebrate other players. There's a hesitation, caution, a sense that maybe her popularity needs to be managed rather than amplified. Then there's the all-star voting situation. Clark, the biggest draw in the league, the player everyone wants to watch, was snubbed in all-star voting. Not because fans didn't vote for her. They did. But because of how the voting was structured and how it was weighted. The message, intentional or not, was that Clark's popularity needed to be tempered. That she couldn't be allowed to completely dominate the all-star selection. That other considerations had to be balanced against her talent and her draw. And now we have the incident with Thomas. The play itself, the suspension that followed, and White's response all fit into this broader pattern. It's a pattern where the league's biggest star is consistently treated with less protection, less celebration, and less priority than the organization's stated values would suggest. Clark is the reason people are watching. She's the reason the WNBA is getting mainstream media attention. And yet, when she needs protection, when she needs her coach to have her back, she gets a lecture about inclusivity instead. Here's what's important to understand about this moment. It matters for Caitlin Clark's career. It matters for the Indiana Fever's future. And it matters for what the WNBA is building. When a coach undermines her star player publicly, when she prioritizes other allegiances over protecting her franchise, it creates a crack in the foundation. It's a crack that can grow over time. It's a crack that affects team chemistry, player morale, and ultimately winning. Think about recruitment and retention. Other players watch how coaches treat their stars. They watch whether coaches have their backs. They watch whether coaches prioritize protecting their team, or whether they get distracted by other concerns. When those observations are negative, when players see that a coach won't defend them, it affects whether they want to play for that coach. It affects whether they stay with a franchise long term. It affects the culture of an organization. For Clark specifically, this is her rookie season. This is when she's forming her impressions of professional basketball, of her coach, of her franchise. If she's learning that her coach won't have her back when it matters, that's a lesson that will stick. It's a lesson that could affect her decisions about her future with the team, her trust in leadership, and her willingness to fully invest in the organization's success. There's also the broader question of what this says about the WNBA's commitment to being a serious professional sports league. Serious leagues protect their stars. Serious leagues take player safety seriously. Serious leagues understand that when you have a generational talent, your job is to build around that talent, protect that talent, and let that talent flourish. If the league and its coaches are instead managing that talent, tempering that talent, and occasionally undermining that talent, then you're making a choice about what your priorities are. And that choice comes with consequences. So we come back to the original question. What does a coach do when their star player is attacked? There's a right answer and a wrong answer. The right answer is you defend your player. You make it clear that kind of behavior won't be tolerated. You demand accountability from the league. You stand up and say, my player matters. My franchise player was wronged, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. The wrong answer is what happened at that press conference. The wrong answer is prioritizing other concerns. The wrong answer is defending the player who committed the foul. The wrong answer is using a moment of crisis to signal allegiance to something other than your team and your player. What makes this moment significant isn't just what it says about one coach or one incident. It's what it reveals about priorities in professional sports. It's a moment where you can see clearly what an organization actually values versus what they say they value. White says the WNBA is about competition, but her actions suggest something else is taking priority. She says the league is about protecting players, but her response to an attack on her star suggests that protection is conditional. She says the organization's job is to elevate its biggest star, but her defense of the player who attacked that star suggests otherwise. The thing about leadership is that you can't hide your real priorities. They come out in your actions. They come out in how you respond in moments of crisis. They come out in who you defend and who you throw under the bus. And in this moment, Stephanie White revealed what her priorities actually are. And everyone who pays attention to professional basketball is taking note. The question now is whether it will matter, whether it will change anything, whether the league will course correct or whether it will continue down the path it's currently on. But make no mistake about this. Caitlin Clark is watching. The locker room is watching. The sports world is watching. And they're all drawing the same conclusion about what happened and what it means. That's the real significance of this moment. Not just the play, not just the suspension, but what a coach's response reveals about an organization's true values and whether protecting your franchise player is actually a priority, or just something you say in interviews when no one's really paying attention.